So you're watching a portion of the episode called Dance of the Dead, and it's in the television series called The Prisoner, starred Patrick McGoohan, and it was shown primarily in Great Britain, 1967 to 1968.
You're waiting for someone, Mr. Tuxedo? Or expecting someone?
Mr. Peter Pan?
So it seems.
With his shadow?
You're being hostile again. What were you looking at?
A light?
A star.
A boat?
An insect.
A plane?
A flying fish.
Somebody who belongs to my world.
This is your world. I am your world. If you insist on living a dream, you may be taken for mad.
I like my dream.
Okay, now, can you relate to those words? I can. Because many people are completely under the spell of the hoax-lie system. And then once you're out of it, in their eyes, it appears that you live in a dream world or there's something drastically wrong with you. You're mad, you're insane. And you get all these goofy people that write, you know, oh, you need to get back on your meds or something like that. Or they just say you're downright crazy. But it's the reverse. It's the reverse. The hoax-lie system is the dream. And Patrick McGoohan represents reality.
Barman. Now go on up to the town hall.
May I?
You may enter tonight. It's carnival. What? No dancing? Tonight's for dancing. Amongst other things.
Now, this is an interesting thing as well. And I want you to pay attention to it because it actually illustrates something that's in the Bible. It illustrates when the Israelites were in the wilderness. And it says they murmured or they grumbled against Moses. And ultimately, their grumbling or their murmuring was against God, not Moses. And that's why they wandered for 40 years. 40 years. And of the adults that came out of Egypt, only 2, Joshua and Caleb, went into Promised Land. The ones who went into Promised Land were the children and the grandchildren, not the original adults, except for Joshua and Caleb. And why is that? Because they incessantly, without any real desire to repent, grumbled and murmured against God. Now, I see it illustrated quite well here because the word murmur is one of those words that sounds like what it is. And a murmur is exactly that tone that they're going to let you hear as Patrick McGoohan walks down the dance floor. And I'm not sure why they put it in here, but I'm speculating that it's the true nature of the people coming out, like they know they're in a prison and they know they're dressed in costume and they're supposed to dance and be happy because they're told to. So they're going to be murmuring, and maybe rightfully so, because this is a prison. But I wanted to use it to talk about the Old Testament and how God's so-called God's people were supposed to be conforming to God, and all they do is mumble and grunt and groan and murmur against God in the wilderness for 40 years. So listen, it only goes on for about 10 seconds.
Music! Come along. You've been practicing long enough. And dance! Enjoy yourselves! It's carnival.
I rarely drink.
Then you'll enjoy it all the more. Self-denial is a great sweetener of pleasure. It's warmer than we think. Undoctored to carnival.
Your administration is effective, though you have no opposition.
An irritation we've dispensed with. Even its best friends agree democracy is remarkably inefficient.
Okay, now that's exactly the way it is here in America. There is no real opposition. Any opposition that you see in the media is controlled opposition to give the illusion that there's opposition. And they primarily eliminated it, except maybe for folks who are a little like me and others like me, that we're just trying to tell everybody what happened. So she's saying democracy is inefficient. And that is true. Because the most efficient form of government is a dictatorship. Absolutely true. Where everybody is ordered to do things. Like everybody at this event has been ordered to dance and have fun.
53.
How impressive. From here on, of course, we degenerate to the 55 and the 57, and if people really misbehave themselves to a quite extraordinary 58.
Why haven't I a costume?
Perhaps because you don't exist. Quite enchanting. Little Bo Peep.
In a way, he doesn't exist in the village because he's never conformed. So in a way, he's like non-existent because he's never really conformed. And that's why they gave him back his old clothing. He's not wearing that stupid suit jacket or some stupid medieval costume.
Always knows where to find her sheep.
Oh, you must cheer him up, my dear. Dance. It's a special night.
We hope so. Dance.
Okay, now there is Napoleon. There's the mad doctor in the hospital. Now notice how he has that hand under his coat, and all the stupid pictures of Napoleon show that. That's the hidden hand of history. It's the quiet hidden hand of the people who are in the cabal system. Incidentally, Napoleon was a fake. I ID'd him in my, I'll try to put a link if I remember to do so. But Napoleon is Sir Robert Peel. Sir Robert Peel, the founder of the Bobbies in London. Yes, the City Police Force founder. Your great father of city police. Okay? Sir Robert Peel will go into costume and play Napoleon. Now, what was Napoleon's so-called army doing? Well, if you read all the nonsense history books, they were out conquering Europe. Not really. The armies of Napoleon were building tourist attractions. And the biggest one that everybody knows about are the pyramids of Egypt. I'm convinced that that was just the British building a tourist attraction for people to go to a place where they have no business going to, Egypt, with its oppressive heat and poverty, and deadly vipers and snakes. How do you get them there? Well, you build a big tourist attraction. You come up with a bunch of mythological nonsense. Hence, the pyramids most likely were built at the end of the 1700s, beginning of the 1800s, and most likely they were just soldiers in the army of Napoleon. And incidentally, I also think, I haven't done a video on it yet, but I also think Napoleon's armies built the castles in Europe. Because there was no medieval age. There was no 1,000 years where the knights were banging each other with lances and jousting. Where they put on a hunk of metal and walked around. Couldn't wait to go out and bang their swords together with a bunch of metal on. It's nonsense. 1,000 years of it have been sold to us, and I have videos on that too. Alright? But anyhow, Napoleon, Sir Robert Peel. And it's the mad scientist here in this episode, the one who's doing a lot of this, experimenting on number 6, is wearing the Napoleon-like costume.
A glass of wine, Doctor.
Drink is too leveling. How is it?
Still rebellious, but it will pass.
Without treatment?
We don't want to spoil him.
Unless we must.
Treatment, notice that. Treatment means brainwashing.
How many of these have you been to? This is my first and last.
Don't be silly.
Yes. Who's saying that? You or the computer?
Me. Don't stop.
Don't behave like a human being. It might just confuse people. You know?
Only you were confused. They're not for long. There are treatments for people like you.
I've told.
Now, computers are pretty new to the public in 1967. In fact, basically unknown to people, except people at universities that had access to mainframe computers. But the general population had little to no comprehension of computers in 1967.
She must get instructions. Who do they come from? Is he here tonight? The man behind the big door?
Well, there's no need to know. This place has been going for a long time.
Since the war. Before.
Okay, now notice how he's trying to make like a chronological marker the war. Well, what war? He doesn't say. But I find that fascinating because war is one of the key components to the hoax-lie system. And once you understand that you've been hoaxed and lied to about war, you can handle uncovering any hoax. And one of my channels is called War Backwards is Raw, R-A. And that was what really brought me out of the hoax-lie system. Now, I am not sure how far back the war hoaxing goes, but I suspect that the only wars that really actually occurred were the ones in the Bible, and shortly thereafter with the collapse of the Roman Empire. And thereafter, all the wars, the European wars and so forth, were just hoaxes. Now, I can't prove that to you, but I am absolutely certain the American Revolutionary War was a hoax. And that's 1776 or so. So prior to that, I'm projecting and saying, yeah, all the European wars were hoaxes too. And the only wars that I think existed would be the ones in the Bible, and then the ones following the rise of the Emperor Constantine and the Roman Empire, and then its collapse, and then of course the faking of a medieval period, which included a lot of nonsense and wars. And then hence everything after that has been faked. So that's why McGowan, or number 6, is talking about the wars. Has the village been around here before the war, after the war?
War. Which war?
A long time.
See, he's just as curious as I am. Which war? How far back does this war hoaxing stuff go? Okay, so now he's in the hospital section, and he's going to play doctor.
Have you seen her?
Huh?
Number 2. She's not at the party?
I'll be seeing her.
She must see this urgently. It's a termination order.
Is it like me to give it to her?
Would you? I'd be most obliged.
Not at all.
Don't forget, it's urgent.
Right away.
Notice the designation of termination order, and that is when the system does something to the individual. The system terminates. But Patrick McGowan, quote, resigned from the system of his volition, his will. But now they're saying the system is going to do something to his friend and buddy. Okay, that's the one that he met in the cave that told him it's over for him. He will no longer exist.
opportunities. You don't blame us for doing the same. Ah, she's taken to you. I'm jealous. Oh, she's mine. She works here too.
Okay, so the cat, which represents black magic, works here too, meaning that the whole world is under the magic of the devil. We're told that in the book of Revelation. He deceives the whole world.
Very efficient. Almost ruthless.
Never trust a woman, even the four-legged variety.
You can trust everyone. And will, in time. Let's go back. The cabaret is beginning.
In his pocket.
The wallet?
Yes.
It's still there.
Okay, now that was the body that he found floating in the sea, and he was hiding in the cave, and then he tried to set it back out, floating again with a message on it. Okay? So they caught it.
Amended slightly. We'll amend him slightly. It's you who's died in an accident at sea. May I?
So to the outside world,
Which you only dream about.
I'll be dead.
A small confirmation of a known fact.
Okay, so that brings out the whole idea of hoaxing people's deaths, which is done all the time. That people supposedly die, and they're not really dead at all. Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. No. Because Jefferson Davis lived afterwards, and he was Jefferson Davis too. He was just an actor. And he was killed supposedly in a theater. Okay? So on and on it can go about the faking of people's deaths. And now they're going to try to use that same strategy for the one who's all-knowing here about the phony system. They're going to try to convince the world that he's actually dead when he's not.
Don't blame me. It's a question of waste not, want not.
Okay, we're going to stop it right here and pick it up in another video. Once again, I'd like to thank you for watching. End of video.